All right, day 3. I had to run and look at egress windows. I still got to get over there. But the truck's broken down, so I got to set up and rent a trailer, but borrow my buddy's truck to pull it. I don't know how many times I've said that, probably 18 by now. So we're just in here getting that out of there. Look at it, it's all gone, baby. And so obviously we were tight here with the original wall, but we've got to have room for footer, which is wider to either side, and for work, and to have, you know, keep from having dirt cave off, which ends up making you a lane big enough for one of his smaller tools, one of his smaller pieces of equipment. For example, this bad boy. Found something over here. That must be the stack. Oh no, just piece of the floor. Yeah, and he gets it over into the middle, and then he can come through with the skid steer, and always got somebody else, got Mikey in there, so he's getting out to the middle, and then he can come through and skid steer it. Oh yeah. I'm not wearing my mucks today. Au natural, the way that Sean likes it. He says he can't stand those. I don't understand why. Steel toe, sole is the same if they fit correctly. They're not like those big stupid yellow moon boots that guys used to have to wear over their work boots. So I'm not wallowing around in there. I would if I had the mucks on, because I don't have to think about where I step, but if I start thinking about where I'm walking due to what kind of footwear I've got on, I'm not thinking about wringing my head off with something else or being as safe as I could be. It's just bandwidth. So I am a proponent of just being dressed to be in the environment that you're going to be in 100% without consideration. And then you could just go to work. I can't be here. There's nothing I could really do today that would keep me here all day. I got the trailer later, so we'll be back and we'll watch maybe some of that. But it's like, to me, essentially, he's practically, well, we got to be over here some, and then we got it probably to here, so we got to square this out with that, and then he's got to dig this out of here with this little guy and make us a nice big wide 4 foot deep place to pour the footer for the stem wall, which will be underneath the garage. So I'll maybe race against time to see the egress windows, pick something out, pick up the truck, and boogie back here and see if he's got everything almost done, and then go get the trailer. And if he's off my site here, then it's easier for me not to get driven on or be blocked in by something, to get my machine out and scoop this. Yeah, well, obviously I can't get to that trash because he's got a bucket on it. And so, you know what I'll do is I'll roll some video on this, and if Mikey's going to bring a load out and dump it, then I can send that to the folks that are going to take this material from us and make sure that's the stuff that they're ready and willing and able to handle and deal with. All right, and I'm back. It's got the transit set up. Now we're making the last little skimmer off. Skimmer coat down to virgin. There's the old sewer out. That's something that I don't know what it is. That's the wire that goes out to there for the old lamp post. That's the peanut butter. Haven't started on the, well, haven't taken this out here, but it looks like he's over here, removed it. Hasn't done any garage footing digging yet, or maybe just a little bit, and then it fell back in and decided against it. So found this thing, whatever that is. This is our fill soil. There is some clay happening now and some shale, the iron color there, but a lot of this is, and we've had a lot of rain. It's not real. It's not a lot of clay, or that'd be just a slime hole pit. So this is looking damn skippy. Looking for the laser plumb now, probably. See, he's got the laser plumb on the corner, so he knows what he's got to be out and out there. What's this? Gas line. Okay, yeah. Fucking cut that much more over. I'm lost in here now, right? Electrical's there. Gas line in there. Something heavy over there I saw. What is that? I haven't gone over there to look. Is it up? Oh, that's your plastic water crumpled up there. Oh, it's malleable copper, right. Never rebuilt the water line, nothing here. Even though they rebuilt that whole section of wall. No new water line, no new sewer line ever. Very cool. Doesn't need the tooth bucket almost anywhere here, and there's no big rocks almost ever.
Get all that out.
Yeah, right, obviously, but no big like boulders or mini boulders or anything in this here. It's all been pretty easy digging. I see a couple little things peeking out, but nothing you can't get. My life growing up, everywhere just where you want to be, and there's the tip of an enormous fucking boulder that you can spend the rest of the day. Yes, of course, right. We're not going to find anything that wasn't in the way before. I'm thinking going any further out there, though, there's a chance that you might find something just peeking there that's the size of a car or whatever going over there. So, but he makes a good point. Like to think that if they made a foundation hole once, they can make a foundation hole again without problems. Look at that asphalt driveway. Just 2 or 3 inches of asphalt on the ground. Doesn't look like there's any base or anything for that. Somebody just poured asphalt out and charged them. Yep. No wonder it. Honestly, I've seen worse over time, but it doesn't look great anymore. It's just never been added to or managed. It's just a bunch of asphalt laying on the ground. There's a couple bigger stones, but they're no problem. Here's his first course of cribbing on undisturbed earth beneath it, and he set that up based on the furthest extents that he knew he was coming through to dig to get out and around here for the foundation pour. But we are thoroughly in the air above nothing. Boy, does it feel good. And in the case of my house someday, my project, so I've got an otherwise square out, rectangular shape, but I've got an inside corner like that. And for me, I have plans for a tower addition that will start there and go up. And so for me, when we get to my project, which I'll put on the tubes here, hopefully, it will, my hole will keep on going right over there and square out right over there, and obviously pour our foundation right out over in there and what other features we need. And then when we come down and land, there'll be an open pocket of that foundation that I'll want to get right on top. I'll have it plated with the rest of it being green plate. But I'll get my rim joists out there, throw my floor joists in there, and just start building up and up and up and up and up and try to get it dried out as quickly as possible, which will be exciting. And if they had money to burn here or had wanted to do an addition here or anything like that, this is the time where you do that at the same time. That way your waterproofing membrane and dimple mat and all that just cruises right on out and around everything, and it doesn't have to stop and start if you choose to do that later. It can be done later, but there's nothing like one contiguous piece of waterproofing system and all that going out and around the entire new foundation completely. And this is that pesky water drip that was the major contributor to that window well failure all those many years ago. It just doesn't quite get into the gutter and downspout. It's got the mildew growing on the siding, and it's dripping into our new foundation hole, and it'll keep dripping even though it won't make much difference on our new foundation for a long time, but it'll keep dripping until I go up there and put it together correctly at the end of this, toward the end of this project. The last thing I want to see is a bunch of plugged up gutters growing, plant life not connected, so that we're dripping rather than going into the downspout and away from here. That whole system is part of this project, making sure that it's 100% again when we're done here. Here's another example of cribbing not dug as deeply as the cribbing that's within the basement parameters because it didn't need to be. There's that the casting room or the hovel room ceiling. The old stairwell with the old blended cold air return or hot air supply that we'll have to discover what we want to do there someday. That's cold air return through there. Chimney. I don't think I can see right up through the chimney. I tried to yesterday. Ed was talking about having a fire and how it had been cleaned and stuff, so that he was comfortable doing it, but I don't think he should have done that, and I'm glad he didn't, because it doesn't appear to be a clear route to the outside that way. And the hot water tank vent went right into that, so you know, all that's been really doing is contributing humidity and moisture to that. I don't know that it's going out, and so we won't necessarily go into the chimney. I don't think we can anyway, but the furnace vent was doing that too. The furnace and hot water tank vents are going to come out through the rim joist with PVC probably to some extent, even if it has to be galvanized nearer the equipment. We'll have to double check those standards before we do that, but that's just... So basically the chimney will be purely decorative forever more. And it is an architectural component to this house, and it is in nice shape overall. It'll just be ugly in that spot until they decide whether they're going to put a roof over a porch there again someday. Since that's not part of this. Whether we put the porch back on and the roof back on, that's separate, or if we just get that little area right where the roof came from, that's going to have to be ugly unless they want to, you know, I can obviously keep going and do that, but it's not going to be comparable to the estimate or the quote. We're going to have to make sure that they know that. But those are the little things that we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I'd like to think that there'll be elbow room after we're done here to touch up a few things that weren't planned on without, you know, there being any, you know, financial hardship involved. Just didn't want to talk about those very end steps when we're trying to plan something this massive. I try to limit how many, oh yeah, and then we can do this, and then we can do that, and we can do this, and we can do that. Anything can be done, but I like to price things out in a realistic fashion, so we priced out getting a new foundation under this place and utilities connected and totally livable before the winter 2023, so that's our goal here. Now he's just fucking with me. So if Mikey's 6 foot, it looks like we're almost about 7 from our footer base to our grade in most places here. It was lower over there, but we filled it, so if we pour a footer and then we pour an 8-foot wall on it, we should be showing 2 feet of foundation. We are talking about that 9-foot wall, but yeah, he's checking here, that thing squeaking, that's his receiver to the laser transit, and it's telling him that he needs to be deeper or higher up. So everything here is based on that laser level that's flying around outside. Which you'll notice the interior space is a tiny step up from here to here. I don't know if it comes through on camera. but that's because our footer starts down here, but our footer is only 2 feet wide, or it may not even be that wide. I gotta double check. But he comes in through here, and then we have a route of drainage tile on inside and out, but then we'll fill up to level with the footer inside with stone, and then we'll pour right on top of the stone. The floor will go right on over the top surface of the footer, and so however thick the floor will be. But there's no reason to take this down to this level all the way around. It's just more money spent on buying stone. So you do want to have some stone, and so he makes a call here on where this level needs to be so that there is some stone underneath that pad, but not overly so we're not spending that money. And it's rainy today, but we're underneath the house, so that's perfect. And we are going to have to roll over and down next to that new main beam. There's a chance that when we're here setting up to pour, where the notch, where the pocket core goes in the wall mold, could maybe be snuck down a little bit so that the new steel beam goes right by, just right by the sewer stack. And so we haven't got to swing around it to come down, we can just come straight down. And so I might do that, because I do not think it changes the engineering or anything. But I'm going to ask, I'm going to take a photograph of this real quick, and I'm going to ask my foundation contractor if we can do this in the field and just scoot those things despite the drawing to clear that sewer stack. We're just getting everything combed back now. He's content with it up ahead of us here, from here to the front. Fairly content with everything, except within this surface we've got to have detents to that elevation for the piers. And I just decided that I don't want the stack to zigzag, like I said, and so the shorter distance for this beam to move isn't all the way over there to clear it. It's just going to the east here to clear it. So I got to run that by the architect. I do have the overlap in the floor joists, so I'm not losing that. It is a greater span from the beam to the outside wall by a lot, from there to there, than it is from here to there, and they're all 2x8s. So in my mind, it doesn't change anything other than the pocket in the wall needs to be in that correct location so that it can be straight, and the center line of the piers needs to be in that location, so that the stack up and its anatomy, independent of everything else, is correct. And as a lay person who's got a lot of experience, I don't think shortening this span on those joists is any. It's this length. It's extending the span of these joists, but they're the same dimension as those, and it was acceptable over there for those to do that dimension or that span. So that it should be acceptable here for these to gain a little bit of span length, essentially. And so then our sewer stack will be straight, and we haven't got poopies slamming into that first elbow from upstairs and turning into poop cake and trying to sleaze and slime their way over and fall down. It's just a big shoop, straight shot. I'd rather the poop cake happen down here. The fewer bends and stuff in any kind of a physical tube for material to flow, it's always the better, almost always. So that's just a rule of thumb there. And it's ugly and unhandy to work in a situation like that. So. that's everything for the footer and the piers. And we moved them over a little bit because, like I said, I want to move the beams. So now we got to do the stem, take out the far end of the existing foundation under the garage and trench around for the stem wall footer. And it's only Taco Tuesday at like 3 p.m. I don't know. This whole timeline's been squashed up real nice and tight. Everything seems to be going well. Knock on cribbing. The dump trailer is out front, and this thing's parked on my pile. But if there's time today, I may ask if he can just grab it with the thumb. I'm going to have a hard time pushing up on that pile and clearing it all the way and getting it into the dump trailer. So see if we could do that much, or at least however much of it he can get. The rest of it I got to scoop up from out back, but I can come at that from a couple different angles. And then hopefully the rain will let up eventually and we don't just keep turning this place into a pig mess. No thanks, battery saver. Well, he's just getting the path right. Clearing this up out front. Put a bunch of junk up here to be loaded out. But gonna load out a few things you won't be needing. The breaker hammer's got to go. I don't think that any of the big equipment needs to stay. The big skid is going to stay to load the trucks up, but like at least one of the mini X's is going to go, I'm sure. Either the cabless or the one with the cab on it. That little fella is going to be what he probably uses over there to get that stem wall. And I asked him to, he's got this warming up, I asked him to grab that junk and throw it in my dump trailer. And then I'm debating, I'm going to leave the brush and stuff. The town will get that stuff. I don't know why it should have to get stuffed into the... I don't know why I should have to take it to the dump myself. They'll get it. And, I don't know. I think it might be close to end of day for today. Just getting his loaded machinery that he's taking home. Don't want to take an empty trailer home or where there's room on it. And make the most of that. I'm thinking about it myself. I want to dump this trash, and then I'm like... do I or don't I want the skid steer at home for any reason this upcoming weekend? Or do I or don't I want it here on the site as soon as I move it home with the dump trailer? So that's just always in the back of your mind. Now I've been to the CNC manufacturer where their CNC... Now I've been to the CNC equipment manufacturer who use their own CNC machines to make parts to make their CNC machines. But this is where you use your equipment to load your other equipment. Which is super fucking handy. Okay, that's the end of Georgia Day 3. You've seen what's going on under the house. I had him scoop that stuff up and stuff it in the trailer. They like to see those dump trailers covered. And by like, I mean, I think you're breaking the law if they're not covered. Going down the road with random debris. Whereas, if you're going down the road with any other kind of improperly secured load or otherwise, that isn't demo debris or garbage, nobody seems to bat an eye. So I'm below essentially the level of the edge of the trailer, which is to say I'm not going to stuff any more shit from this pile in there, because this has got a lot of pieces with structural integrity that can't be wadded up or smushed any, and it needs to be sort of built down into there rather than just see how tall this is. It'll be half as tall or less when I'm done filling the trailer with it, which is to say I'll dump that first thing tomorrow morning, and then I'll race over here and load that up and run and dump it tomorrow later in the morning. Meanwhile, we'll get some footage of the stem wall excavation under the garage, and then we're still on schedule for that's Wednesday, so that means a loading out Thursday, and footer form and pour Friday afternoon stone slinger when they're done. So there'll be a formed and poured footer here. Stone slinger, he'll fire it out into the center here. And then I'll jump in and hand throw a bunch of it out. Well, I'll also throw the, gotta put the, yeah, throw it out past the footer to the outside, because I can't put drain tile along against the footer forms. We'll have to form the walls Saturday, inspection Monday, and pour the walls Monday. And then once they strip the forms, I can route the tile, and then the stone that I've thrown out of there can be thrown onto it to hold it, and the stone from the center can be thrown out onto the tile that's on the inside of the footer and sort of leveled and stuff after that. Normally, there's a 3D pocket in both ends of the foundation where the beam's going to go, but this front one has to be a clear opening so that we can start our new steel and poke it in and slide it in there. Otherwise, Sean was saying it's a big hassle to do it otherwise. So we're going to replace that beam there, which means I think I at least have to notch that much out of the sheathing and stuff and take that little piece of, oh, that's the end of the door trim that's there. So I might have to hop up in there at some point and notch that out. I'm not sure. Not sure why the beam is notched. Oh, for the sill plate. And so we're not going to be under the sill plate. So I'm going to take that piece where the beam has been notched around the sill plate that comes through. I've actually got to cut out that sill plate and then take that much out of the sheathing and the end of the board hole, you know, basically make a clear hole here. And then we'll leave a notch. And I shouldn't do it according to that beam location, because that's not the location that the beam's going to go in. So I'll either have to cut over to the left heavy and have kind of an ugly hole. In any case, it's going to be ugly. So I'm going to go up the right-hand side from this beam location to where I need to be in terms of elevation, and then cut over 3 or 4 inches anyway to the left, if not 5 or 6, and then down so that the new beam can go in to the left of where this one is, which is because we want that sewer stack to clear it straight down. Kind of a last-minute problem. I have to move the piers over on account of that, and I think our other end of the beam sits. We have to have a bit more wall to catch the other end of the beam to try and put it in that location, which is just why I think there was a jog in that to start with for this reason. So we're going to discover what all went on here and what it's going to take to get that to miss. I may abandon that. Oftentimes I talk about what I'm trying to do and what will happen, and then it doesn't happen. So I may abandon that if it becomes too complicated here on site or for whatever reason. So that's a long, blathery end to this video series. Thanks for watching. We'll see ya.